So what is it really possible for you and me to do? The best we can ever do is probably be a fairly good example of what others might do. And so I'm going to use my own community, Miami-Dade County, a population larger than 16 states. People like me and most of you, non-Hispanic white, are literally 15% of the population and an even lesser percentage of the 34,000 babies who are born each year. I live in a community where black and African American are not interchangeable words. We have tens upon tens of thousands of black people who are not African American and who may well look at many matters, including racism, in somewhat different ways. And yes, you know there are a lot of Cubans in Miami, but did you know that only half of the 65% of the population that is Hispanic is Cuban? And if you want to know whether we are on the cutting edge of America, you also need to know that more than half of us were born in another country. It is the largest percentage of any urban area of the United States of America. Yet in this community, with all its challenges of poverty and language and culture, we found ways to rally around all children. It's from this community that leadership came to make free pre-kindergarten available for all 4-year-olds in Florida. This year, 166,000 4-year-olds are in the program. And while we need to fix that program to make it the high quality that the people of Florida voted for, I frankly am delighted that we have this embedded in the Constitution so it cannot be taken away. And moreover, it was this very community, as Bruce mentioned, that now has a dedicated funding source for early intervention and prevention for its children. Something first tried in 1988 by someone who was the state attorney then, a woman named Janet Reno, who argued in some portions of the community, children have it particularly tough, we need to help them. Please pass this. We're on the side of the angels. It failed 2-1. We ultimately passed, as Bruce told you, we ultimately passed it twice, the second time with 85.4% of the vote. Imagine this. An American community asks people, gets people to raise their property taxes for everyone's child. Raises their property taxes so it's an extra $100 million every single year in one American community to begin to do better by children. What's that mean? Millions upon millions invested in higher quality child care. Millions upon millions invested in after-school care, higher quality after-school care. Millions upon millions upon millions invested in health teams, both a nurse or nurse practitioner and a person with a master's in social work in 130 public schools. So I say this all can be done. Could be done if we could build the political will. Could be done if the mission is to give every child a chance to succeed. And I promise you we would have never passed a pre-kindergarten amendment, or we wouldn't have passed what we call the Children's Trust if we had focused only on some children or those children. So buttressed by those victories for children, the political strategist with whom I work came to me and said, I think we can do something even bigger. And that's what's called the Children's Movement of Florida. So for the ensuing 20 months, we worked behind the scenes, held meetings around the state, did focus groups in more than one language, gathered a fully bipartisan steering committee comprised of 27 distinguished Floridians, 12 Democrats, 12 Republicans, 3 independents. Hired a Republican polling firm and a Democratic polling firm together to poll likely voters in the state of Florida as to what they wanted in the way of progress for the children of Florida. And that led us to a first focus on 5 issues. Health insurance for all children. I live in a state where 822,000 children, as legal as anyone is in this room, have no health insurance. A second issue, screening and treatment for children who may have special needs. 1 out of every 6 American children is an example of such. Number 3, fixing the quality of Florida's pre-K program. Number 4 and 5, high-quality, best practice parent skill building and mentoring programs. We're not aiming for a 1-year legislative wonder. Rather, we aim to build something enduring, long-term, and sustainable, and the power to insist on a real change in priorities. We launched it last September with rallies from one corner of the state to the other, Pensacola to Key West. 15,000 Floridians showed up for milk and cookies and inspiration. We call them milk parties. If you can have tea parties, you ought to be able to have milk parties. Said the lead of the front page story in the Naples Daily News, quote, "Forget the Tea Party, the hottest party in the state of Florida is the milk party." We received enormous coverage in Florida, plus a major piece on CNN. The Tallahassee Democrat called this, quote, "unquestionably a first for Florida, bringing children's issues to the forefront of political discussion." Each week, I now communicate with more than 250,000 Floridians, and we are on track to communicate with 1 million Floridians by the end of next year. And what I want you to do now is spend just 4 minutes and 15 seconds to see a video that we have shared with tens upon tens of thousands of Floridians.